Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Oh, my cats are not doing well right now. They're very mad at each other. They're fine now. It only takes a second for them. They only fight for a sec. Not like these lawyers. These lawyers fight for a year. But, so where we stopped yesterday, hopefully it was not at a sidebar. I don't think it was. So oh wait. Why is the volume down? There we go.
Melissa, did you take them, took Ratcliffe around the scene and advised her of what you had there and what you'd found? Isn't that correct?
At the locations of the bodies and just subsequently in the house in the upper bedroom, yes.
All right. And with regard to the arrival of the criminalists, did you take them around and show them what you had there?
Yes.
And it's important, is it not, Detective, for you to collect appropriately evidence as soon as possible so it can be subjected to analysis as soon as possible? That's appropriate, is it not?
Well, it would be preferable, but that doesn't always happen.
Well, I understand that. Let's talk about it being preferable. You would always prefer to have the evidence collected as soon as you see it or as soon as possible. Isn't that correct?
Again, you would prefer that, but it doesn't happen that way.
Well, let me ask you this. You said in your testimony you saw some blood spots on the rear gate there at Bundy on June 13th, 1994. Is that correct?
Yes,
Those spots have been pointed out to you by Detective Phillips?
that's correct.
You in turn pointed them out to Mr. Fung?
That's correct.
Did you direct Mr. Fung to collect those particular blood spots?
I directed him to do that, and I believe I mentioned to check the entire gate.
All right. And you expected that to be done, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, it was not done on June 13th, was it?
No,
In fact, it wasn't done on June 14th, was it?
that's correct.
And neither the 15th.
That's correct.
In fact, it was not done until July 3rd, so 3 weeks later, is that right?
That's correct.
So did Fung come back out there on July 3rd, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you're aware that this crime scene at Bundy had been washed down at some point on June 13th and June 14th, isn't that correct?
I'm aware that the front walkway was washed down.
All right, and what date was that?
I don't know. I assume it was a day or two after the crime scene was struck.
Would it be safe in saying it was washed down at least by the 14th of June, sir? That'd be safe?
I don't know.
So a day or two of June 13th would be the 14th or 15th, right?
I just assumed that. I don't know exactly when it was washed down.
All right. Certainly the crime scene itself was broken down by 3 o'clock or so in the afternoon on the 13th, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You read the log yesterday, right?
That's correct.
All right, and that meant that people were free to go and come with regard to those premises, is that correct?
No.
That meant that the police department had finished their business at that location, isn't that correct, sir?
No.
Sir, if you had known that Fung had not collected and sought to preserve any blood spots that were allegedly on this back fence, you would not have released that crime scene, would you have?
No, I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have, would you?
No.
Okay. But it was released on the 13th, isn't that correct?
No, it was not released to the public.
Well, let's see now. Was the crime scene released on the 13th, sir?
The crime scene was secured. The residence was secured. The gates were locked.
Was the crime scene released on the 13th, Detective Lang?
We completed our initial crime scene investigation on the 13th. Yes, but I got the inference that you were trying to say it was open to the public, and that's not the case.
No, you shouldn't try to get any inferences from my questions.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay, please, don't get any inferences. Just, let me approach and ask you. I want you to read what you read to Ms. Clark yesterday. What time was that crime scene released?
Objection, this is... Objection, Your Honor. This is misreading.
352.
I believe
Overruled.
the last entry, it's kind of written over. It appears to be 15:45, perhaps
15:45 on June 13th is what time?
3:45 p.m.
In the afternoon, right?
Yes,
That's mean you took those tapes that had been around that scene down at that point. Is that correct?
the officers did. Yes,
And between that time, 3:45 on June 13th, and July 3rd, 1994. Did you ever go back out to the scene between those dates?
I believe I did.
What date did you go back?
I believe I was there on June 23rd.
All right. So there was a 10-day period between the time you were on the 13th and the time you came back on the 23rd.
That would be 10 days, but I'm not clear on whether I might have gone back in between those two dates.
Do you have some notes that'll help you in that regard?
Yes,
Can you look at them?
certainly. My notes indicate I was at the location on June 16th, but I didn't enter the premises. I just did a mileage check from the location.
Can I ask you a question while you were there on June 16th? Did you notice
Certainly.
that the blood had been washed down?
No.
You don't recall? Or you didn't
If
notice?
the blood had been washed down on the front walkway?
Yes.
I don't recall making that observation.
All right.
It's not to say that it hadn't been done.
Okay.
My notes do indicate I was there on June 23rd at 10:15 a.m.
All right. And were you there after June 23rd, before July 3rd? Were you there on July 3rd, by the way?
Yes, I was.
All right. Were there any visits between the 23rd of June and July 3rd?
There was a visit on June 27th.
All right. Were there any other visits?
No.
All right. So you told us all the visits. Is that correct?
As reflected by my notes, those are the only ones I have here.
All right. But despite all those visits, this blood that was allegedly on this back gate was not collected on any of those dates that you came there on. The 17th, the 23rd, the 27th. Is that correct? It was not collected, was it?
I believe it was the 16th. But
16th.
That's correct.
And
That's crazy.
it was
That's
finally
not good.
collected on July 3rd, 1994. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what time of day was that?
I believe it was in the morning,
Were you present?
approximately 10 a.m. Yes.
Now, with regard to blood spots and blood drops, you can't tell the date that blood was placed there, can you?
You can't really tell the age, no.
All right, and I'm going to show you a photograph of Mr. Fung. This, counsel, is defendant's 1007. This is a photograph, D-1007, Your Honor, and I want to place it before the defendant at this point. Who's depicted in that photograph, sir?
It's criminalist Fung.
And he's pointing to a gate. Is that the rear gate at Bundy?
Yes.
And what date was that photograph taken, if you know?
That would be on July 3rd.
So this was the photograph of July 3rd, 1994, and Fung was pointing toward the fence. Is that right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, may I put this on the
You may.
normal, D10007.
Mr. Harris, do you have the shield? Thank you.
All right, can you see that on the monitor?
Yes.
And that's a photograph of Dennis Fung, the criminalist, taken on July 3rd, 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you were out there at that location?
Yes.
Now, you're aware that after the crime scene perimeter was taken down by Officers Jones and Peridine, Peridine, they had a number of looky-loos and others, tourists from around the world, who came in and around that location. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yes.
And you also know that some people placed flowers on the walkway and at various places around the Bundy location. You're aware of that also, aren't you?
Yes.
By the way, when did you first learn that no blood was taken from samples allegedly taken from the back gate? When did you first learn that?
On that day, July 3rd.
You were not aware of it on all those other visits, is that correct?
That's correct.
When did you first learn that? And with regard to that location, may I have just a second, Your Honor?
Yes. Mr. Darden going to join us? All right, Madam Reporter, you ready? All right, Deputy Mayor, let's have the jurors, please. Yes, hold on.
Wait, stop. Apparently, the items that I was looking for to introduce into evidence with Detective Lang have been returned now. What I'd like to do, if you, with the court's permission, is to open these boxes to determine where the item is that I wanted to introduce with Detective Lang on the record, because these items did not come back to us from the defense in the same condition that they were sent to the defense by us. So I don't have an inventory for each envelope and box to indicate what's inside.
Well, I would propose that we do that then, that we do the inspection at the noon hour, since it appears to me that Mr. Cochran is just getting warmed up.
All the more reason to do it now, Your Honor. Break his stride.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I won't touch that straight line.
No.
All right, how about if we do that, we can inventory the box on the record, and then if, you can inventory the box if necessary, we put something on the record.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
In that case, the,
What we can do is you can have the box, have the courier give the box to the clerk who will accept it in sealed condition, then come back at noon and we'll see what's there.
thank you, that way he doesn't have to stay here for it.
Right,
I
correct.
appreciate that. And let the record reflect that he is, could you identify yourself for the record, sir?
Investigator Salvino.
All right.
Gene Salvino. Thank you.
Would you give that, please, to Mrs. Robertson, and she will maintain custody of the box. Excuse me, counsel, can we have it quiet? The court reporter's trying to write this down.
Could we describe what's being handed over to the clerk right now?
Appears to be a sealed box and a manila envelope, 2 manila envelopes.
One smaller with red tape and one larger with blue tape and red tape.
Yes. Noted, 3 items. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Deputy Mayor, let's have the jury, please.
Morning, Your Honor.
You're reminded you're still under oath, and Mr. Cochran, good morning, sir, you may continue.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Detective Lang, so that we're clear, between the period of June 3rd and July 3rd, there was no police presence at Bundy on a regular basis to guard that location. Isn't that correct?
Restate your question. I think you got the dates wrong.
Between the dates, I'm sorry, Your Honor, of June 13th, 1994 at about 3:45 in the afternoon and July 3rd, 1994, there was no police presence at the Bundy location. Is that correct?
Overruled.
There was no permanent police at that location. I believe they were called to that location on several times.
All right. And they were called that location on several occasions to chase away individuals who would... I'm asking him... I'm in the process of asking the question, Your Honor.
You can ask him if he has personal knowledge of the event.
Are you aware of calls made to that location for police assistance because of the crowds and individuals who were coming to that location?
I had heard of those things happening through the media. I wasn't there. Don't have personal knowledge of it.
All right. Well, you've seen on the media that there were hundreds and hundreds of people in and around that location after June 13th. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Are you aware of any specific police calls that were made regarding specific individuals in and around the Bundy location after the crime perimeter was taken down at about 3:45 on June 13th, 1994?
I don't recall any specific incidents.
Would it refresh your recollection to see any particular documents in that regard?
If that occurred, it certainly may, yes.
May I be permitted, Your Honor, to ask?
You may. Overruled at this point. He can show him to see if it refreshes his recollection. The issue is still personal knowledge and still 352, though.
I'd like to place this before you and ask you to read this to yourself, Detective Lang. I want you to read this document here, and I want you to look at these numbers here. I'll ask some questions about it.
We get every type of courtroom here. We get pretty clean, fresh, super techie ones, and we get old, rusty, moldy ones.
Okay.
Have you read the particular area that I directed you to?
Yes.
And has the review of this particular document refresh your recollection regarding any police calls to the location 875 South Bundy?
No.
Said no.
All right. Thank you, sir. At any rate, how did you determine that there had been no blood samples collected near the rear gate area of Bundy after June 13th, 1994? How did you make that determination?
The determination was made as I approached the rear gate and entered on that date. I hadn't been to the rear gate prior to that to examine it. I really felt I didn't have any reason to. As I walked through the gate, myself and others observed what appeared to be the blood smear that was observed earlier on the 13th.
So you saw it on July 3rd, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
And hadn't you met with the criminalists at any time between June 13th and July 3rd?
I don't believe so.
So you hadn't met with either Fung or Mazzola to discuss their work?
To discuss their work, no.
Had you read any reports from Fung or Mazzola between the dates of June 13th and July 3rd?
No.
And when you were at the scene on July 3rd, I presume from what you're saying, you were there in the company of some other officers, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were there before Fung was called as depicted in the photograph that we showed just before the break, is that correct?
We were doing a district attorney walkthrough, and I don't recall.
Can you answer that question? Were you there
Well-
before Fung was there?
I don't know.
Well, if you didn't, at the time you arrived there and you were walking through at that point, no blood samples have been collected, right, on July 3rd at that point?
Old and crusty, I said.
At the time of my arrival, that's correct.
Right, because you didn't know. You thought they'd already been taken, right?
Yes.
All right. So it was after that that the blood samples, if ever, were taken. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember whether you called Fung to come to the scene? Or was he out there? Or was he due out there? What happened?
I don't recall just how that happened. I may have that written somewhere.
What time of day was it that Fung came to the scene on July 3rd, 1994?
I don't recall. I think it was perhaps late in the morning.
And before that time, did you ever read the property report to determine whether or not these stains allegedly from the rear gate had been booked?
I don't recall seeing the property report prior to then.
All right. Now, when Fung came out, whenever he arrived, were you still present at that time?
Yes.
And who came with him, if anyone?
I believe he might have been by himself, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Do you have any
Probably.
notes which refresh your recollection?
It may be
This is the 90s. It probably still smelled like cigarettes, too.
in my notes.
Well, you may be here after lunch, so can you check your notes after lunch so we won't delay?
Yes, I
All
will.
right, and let us know whether he came with anyone else. Who were you with at that
Thanks,
time?
Jennifer.
I believe I arrived alone.
All right, and you met some other people out there?
Yes.
Was Van Adder there that day?
I don't recall if he was there or not.
And you said there was some kind of a DA's walkthrough?
Yes.
That means district attorney's walkthrough?
Yes.
Were any of the DAs to my immediate right out at that scene on that particular day?
Yes.
Was it a female?
Yes.
Is that Miss Marcia Clark there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Darden wasn't there, was he?
No.
Any other DA there along with Marcia Clark?
Mr. Hodgman.
So was Marcia Clark and Bill Hodgman?
Yes.
Did you get there first?
I think I did.
You were the first one there at the scene?
I believe I was.
And who
One
arrived
first.
after? Who arrived next after you?
I don't want to be inaccurate about this. I don't recall the specifics as far as who arrived when.
All right, now I presume there was no log that day.
Well, there may have been a log as to who was there.
Where is the log?
Well, it would be in my murder book.
Were you planning to have lunch today? Because I might impinge upon that a little bit. Can you check that log for us all over the lunch hour?
Make a list and I'll do it.
We'll make a list of the things we'd like to have you take a look at over the lunch hour. Now,
Yo, I wouldn't give up my lunch for nobody. Drunken, none of the questions are relevant. None of them. I haven't heard a relevant question yet.
now, with regard to your testimony yesterday, you indicated to us that you had noticed some blood splatters or some blood spots on the back of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And if we can have a photograph. I don't know if you want to cut the feed on this or not, but do you recall this particular photograph?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
That's well, Your Honor. Can you see, you can put a big screen. This Detective Lang is the back of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson. On that back, you see those blood spots or spatters?
Yes.
And did you direct the coroner's office to do something with regard to those particular blood spots and spatters?
I pointed those out to the investigator prior to the removal of the victim, yes.
And that was to Miss Radcliffe?
That's correct.
And when you say you pointed them out, you just said, take a look at these?
Something to that effect.
All right. Now, were you ever able to ascertain whether or not those blood spots and/or spatters were ever collected by the coroner's office or by the criminalist or anyone and preserved and tested to determine whose blood that was on her back?
They wouldn't have been collected by our criminalist there. Normally, that would be done at the coroner's office, and
All right.
my information is that it was not done.
It was not done?
Yes,
You pointed out and it was not done?
yes.
Why wasn't it done? Well, I think if he knows.
When I spoke with the coroner's criminalist, he stated to me that
Do you know of your personal knowledge why that wasn't done, other than what somebody told you?
no, yeah.
No.
Next question.
Thank you.
Same witness.
Would you agree that would be important to determine whose blood that was on her back?
I felt it might be important, yes.
And in the course of your investigation, in an effort for you to determine who the perpetrators or perpetrator was, that would be a key factor if that was the perpetrator's or perpetrator's blood. Isn't that correct?
It may or may not be, but I would like to have the blood.
As an investigator, you want to get as many facts as you can. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
You don't want to rush to judgment in these things, do you?
certainly not.
So you want to gather all the facts that you possibly can. Is that correct?
Yes,
And are you telling us that that blood was never examined or collected in the coroner's office? Is that correct?
that's my information, yes.
And who did you talk to in the coroner's office who gave you an explanation as to why they didn't collect that blood?
Be it Mr. Mahaney.
Spell that for the.
Mahaney.
Can you spell that for us?
I believe it's Mahaney.
And what was the date of your conversation with Mr. Mahaney?
I don't recall. It was sometime after I got the coroner's criminalist report.
And when was that?
I don't recall. This was probably several months ago.
Several months ago?
Yes,
So from the time you last saw that photograph that we just depicted on the screen for the jury, or that you saw that scene on June 13th, is that correct?
yes,
And it wasn't until several months ago that you found out that they had not collected the blood that was on her back?
yes,
And then did you institute a call to Mr. Mahaney?
yes.
What's his title in the coroner's office?
He's a criminalist.
They have criminalists within the coroner's office,
Yes,
in addition to the doctors?
yes,
Now, the doctor who did the autopsies in this case is Dr. Golden, Goldin, right?
yes,
And Mahaney was the criminalist assigned to this particular case?
I believe he was a criminalist on duty when the bodies arrived. I don't know that they assigned criminalists to particular cases.
So he'd be the one working to deal with this particular body, is that correct?
He was at this particular time, yes.
All right. And so when you talked to him, give us a little clearer date as to when you talked to Mahaney about their failure to collect these spots and examine them. What date was that?
Again, I don't recall. I'd have to look at the coroner's report and perhaps go from there.
And again, over the lunch hour, can you look at that for us?
Put it on the list.
All right, we'll try to get that list. The conversation that you had, did you have more than one conversation with Mahaney at all? Or just one?
Regarding this, I believe it was just one.
Did you write a report regarding that?
No,
And you never talked to anybody else in the coroner's office regarding it?
I believe I did.
And who else did you talk about? talked to about this?
I believe I had a discussion with Dr. Lakshmanan.
And he is the coroner.
Yes,
Was that after your conversation with Mahaney?
yes.
And was that in the nature of a complaint to Dr. Lakshmanan?
No, it was in the nature of a general conversation that I had with him.
Now, were you able to ascertain of your own knowledge that this blood spot, the blood spots on Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's back, had been washed off at the coroner's office? Were you able to ascertain that?
From my own knowledge?
Yes, of your own knowledge.
No.
Well, now, you and Van Adder attended the post or the autopsy of these two bodies, isn't that correct?
Yes.
What date was that?
I believe that was on the 14th of June.
Okay, June 14th. That would have been then on a Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you went over there, you saw these bodies. Isn't that correct?
Oh, it was a Tuesday, guys. That's why he didn't do it. He's driving me crazy.
At that time, had the bodies been washed and prepped?
When we first arrived, I believe they had been at the time of autopsy, certainly.
All right, they've been washed and prepped. And so
Yes.
at that time, did you ask the coroner, Dr. Golden, and say, look, did you preserve that blood that was on the back? Did you ask that question?
That wouldn't have been asked of Dr. Golden, no.
All right, did you ask Mahaney or any criminalists on duty that day, had they preserved it?
I didn't talk to a criminalist that day.
All right. Now, as a seasoned homicide investigator, when you attend an autopsy, you're there to observe and to point out certain things to the doctor who may not know all the facts. Isn't that correct?
That's one of the things we do, yes.
And you've agreed with me yesterday that, and every day, that in determining the time of death in a homicide case, it's oftentimes very important. Isn't that correct?
Certainly.
And now, you were present during the autopsy. Let's take first the autopsy of Mr. Cole Brown Simpson. You were present during that autopsy.
Yes.
How long did that autopsy take, sir?
I don't recall how long. I didn't time it.
All right. Your best estimate, sir.
There's an examination, of course,
Yes, sir.
2 examinations prior to autopsy by the criminalist and by the pathologist that I wasn't present for. This is part of the autopsy procedure.
Well, let's take the part when you were present, the part that you dealt with, sir.
Okay, that would be the actual autopsy. Perhaps 2 hours.
Perhaps 2
It's very
hours.
difficult for me to.
Okay, and we're talking about Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's
Yes.
portion. All right. So that the examination by the criminalist or whatever would have been conducted at a time before you got there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you got there, did you ask them? Did you ask the criminalist on duty that day if he'd done anything regarding these blood splatters on the back?
Not that day, no.
All right. It wasn't until 1995 that you asked that question. Did you say this year?
No, it was several months ago after I received the criminalist report of blood that he had taken from the body.
Several months ago, and that would have been what month?
Again, I'd have to look at
All
that
right, you're gonna let
report.
us know that.
That's on the list.
At lunchtime. All right, now, in your role there at the scene, did you instruct the coroner, Dr. Golden, to save the stomach contents for Miss Nicole Brown Simpson so that we could use those stomach contents to extrapolate backwards with regard to the digestive process in seeking to determine the time of death?
Counsel's testifying, assumes facts not in evidence at this point.
Okay, Your Honor, but may I seek to restate that in a way that doesn't do that?
Please.
Did you ask the coroner to save the stomach contents of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson?
No.
Oh, yes.
Overruled.
That says she's wrong.
Outside the scope of his
Overruled.
expertise and
All
authority.
right. You didn't ask the coroner to save, right?
No.
Wouldn't you have liked to have the stomach contents and not have them thrown away?
Assumes facts not in evidence.
Okay. Were the stomach contents preserved in this case?
Objections is outside the scope.
If you know, I can make him my own witness for this question, Your Honor. I'll make him my own witness for this. All right. Okay. Were the stomach contents of Nicole Brown Simpson preserved in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, but counsel can call him his own case in chief. This is beyond the scope of
Your
the
Honor,
grant.
Your Honor, you ruled on this.
Overruled.
And the coroner will be testifying.
Overruled.
The contents were examined by Dr. Golden.
Were they preserved,
as-
sir? Is the question.
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know to this date whether or not the stomach contents were preserved, sir?
I have heard that they were not preserved, but
Have you checked?
no.
Objection, Your Honor. No, can the witness be allowed to finish the answer, please?
Well, I want you to finish your answer, so if you have something more to say, please say it.
I'm completed.
Okay. As the investigating officer in this case, have you checked to determine whether or not the stomach contents of Nicole Brown Simpson were preserved in this case so they can be examined?
I have not.
I'm pretty sure they're just going to keep repeating the same questions over again, so don't worry about it.
Personally checked, but I have knowledge that they were destroyed.
All right. Is that something you asked the coroner to do?
To destroy the stomach
Yes.
contents?
Yes.
No,
That's something you wanted done?
no.
With regard to a rape kit analysis, did you ask the coroner to perform a rape kit analysis on the body of Nicole Brown Simpson?
No,
Was that done?
not to my knowledge.
Now, did you think that it might be helpful to make that determination regarding the rape kit analysis? And you answer that yes or no.
No.
What is a rape kit analysis?
Rape kit analysis would include swabs from the vaginal area, perhaps the anal area if there's any evidence of that, perhaps the mouth.
Now, when you arrived at the location of Bundy, you described for us that you saw candles burning in the living room. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what time was this these candles were burning at that point?
Well, I arrived at 4:25 a.m., so I'm approximating 10, 15 minutes after that.
So between 4:25, let's say by 4:40 or thereabouts, the candles were burning. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you find out from talking to the other officers those candles had been burning since midnight or 12:15 or thereabouts?
Yes.
And when you went upstairs in the bedroom, how many candles did you find burning?
I don't recall exactly. I believe there were 2 or 3 or 4 in the bedroom and perhaps 2 or 3 in the bathroom.
And they were all still burning?
Yes.
So would you say there were at least 9 candles altogether burning at this point?
Yes.
And you were aware where you...
Does anyone here burn 9 candles at once in their house? 9 candles at once? I burned 1, maybe, but 9?
knew not these candles had been burning since at least 12:15, the arrival of Officer Risky, right?
Yes.
By the way, did you, in the course of your investigation, direct that any photographs or pictures be taken of these burning candles?
No.
Did it ever occur to you that we might look at the candles and determine the state of their burning at a certain particular period of time and extrapolate backwards, determine when they may have been lit? Did it occur to you ever?
Certainly not. I see no way to do that.
You see no way to do that?
correct.
How large were these candles?
Candles were various widths and sizes and lengths. They were all different.
All right. Do we have any photograph anywhere of these candles burning?
No, not that I know of.
When you arrived inside the house, you also heard some music playing. Isn't that correct?
Seems to me there was music, yes.
And that music was emanating from what room?
It was somewhere in the living room area.
Did you ever ascertain whether or not that was a CD playing or what was playing?
No.
You know if it was an
Yo, Fozzie probably has candles all over his house right now. He lost power.
FM station?
No.
What kind of music did you hear?
It seemed to me to be a new wave type music, instrumentals.
New wave type?
Well, modern type instrumentals.
Kind of soft, romantic kind of thing?
I wouldn't say romantic. It's just in the back of my mind I recall this, and I can't be much more specific than to say it seemed to recall a new wave type of music.
Did you ever go over to a stereo or a component box or something and determine whether this was an FM or a CD or a tape or whatever?
No.
Did you take a picture of the music playing so that we could extrapolate?
Did anybody in your direction ever do that?
Not under my direction, no.
There was bath water in the master bedroom in the bathtub, is that right?
I observed no bath water in the bathroom.
You never observed bathwater?
That's correct.
And do you remember looking in the bathtub?
Yes.
And there was no bathwater in the bathtub?
There were candles on the tub, but there was no water in the tub.
If other officers have testified there was bathwater in the bathtub, do you think one of them let that bathwater out before you came?
Did they leave it out? No, but I believe it drained.
All right, so you have no doubt that at some time earlier there was bathwater in the bathtub.
That's the testimony of the arriving officer, that he saw bathwater. I didn't see any.
All right, you're talking about Risky.
Yes.
All right, you just didn't see it when you got there.
There was none in there when I got there.
All right. Now, with regard to the bed, you described the bed was made but rumpled. In other words, the covers were rumpled in the center of the bed. Is that correct?
Something like that, yes.
And are there any pictures or photographs taken of any of this interior area at all?
Of the bedroom?
Yes, of the bedroom.
No.
Any pictures taken of any of those candles or the bathtub at all?
No.
Any pictures taken of the stereo or component system where this music was emanating from?
No.
And the television was on in the bedroom also upstairs, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you showed us the other day, you took some pictures of a Ferrari in the garage as you were coming inside the house. But once you got inside the house by that banister, did you take any pictures of the ice cream cup that was there?
No.
We have no pictures to this date of that ice cream cup and the state of the ice cream at that point when you arrived?
It wouldn't be accurate for me to say that. I believe that in that overall shot, if one looks, they'll see what appears to be a small ice cream cup in the blow-up.
You mean the picture, let me approach if I can. Are you talking about from People's Exhibit 74? Is that the one taken from the garage area of the Ferrari? Is this the one you're talking about?
This is a little darker. This is the area, though, but when I viewed a photo on the stand the other day, it appeared to possible outline of an ice cream cup here where it would normally have been on the banister. But there were no photographs taken close up.
And why was that? Why didn't you do that?
I felt no reason to do that. It was not part of my crime scene. I wanted to document it, the state that it was first observed. I saw no reason to take a photograph of melted ice cream.
All right, now, of course, it was melted by 4:25, but you're aware, are you not, that when Officer Risky first saw it at 12:35 or 12:40, it was melting and was not melted at that point. You're aware of that, is that correct?
I believe his description was melting, yes.
Right, you're aware of that.
Yes.
And wouldn't the best evidence of that have been for us to be able to look at that photograph of that Ben and Jerry's cup with a photograph or a picture having been taken that night?
Well, there was no photographer there that night with Officer Risky, and as far as best evidence, I'd never considered it evidence at all.
All right.
That's why it wasn't photographed or other things were done with it.
And as the investigator in this case, you don't always do everything you're supposed to do you? You make mistakes, don't you?
Certainly.
All right. None of us are perfect, are they?
That's correct.
All right. Now, and with regard to this ice cream cup, it was a Ben and Jerry's ice cream cup, was it?
Yes.
Now, you did take some photographs, or a photograph or two, of a knife on the kitchen, some marble or corian or whatever, granite. Is that right?
Countertop, yes.
Countertop. What date was that, those photographs taken?
That was taken on June 13th.
By this photograph, by the photographer Rokar?
I believe that would have been Rokar, yes.
All right. And so that we're clear, that knife has been tested under your direction, isn't that correct?
Yes,
There's no blood found on that knife, right?
that's correct.
No fingerprints of Mr. Simpson found on that knife, is that correct?
That's correct.
And there was a lot of testimony yesterday about fingerprints, and you had that area dusted for prints inside and out, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Tell us again briefly what areas, if any, you had dusted for prints.
Inside and out?
Inside and out.
On the outside of the location, I had the fenced, runged fence fingerprinted around the immediate crime scene, around the victims, the front area, the mailbox, the intercom system, the gate, the stationary gate, the fence around the victims, as well as the railing.
May I stop you at that point? Did you have the front gate, both the inside, where one would have to come down from the house and let someone in, and the latch and the outside? Did you have both those fingerprinted also?
Yes,
Dusted for prints?
the entire gate.
All right, the entire gate was dusted?
Yes,
And the call box outside, was that dusted?
yes.
Okay, please proceed, I'm sorry.
The railing leading along the north side of the walkway all the way to the rear gate, the two vehicles parked at the rear, one in the garage, and the black Grand Cherokee in the driveway, the front door, the moldings on either side of the front door, the bathroom on the first level as you would walk in with the moldings around it, the telephones throughout the residence.
Did you have the telephone in the living room area dusted for print specifically?
There was a phone in the kitchen area, I believe.
All right.
Yes.
Well, do you recall one also in the living room area?
There may have been, I don't recall.
With regard to the phone in the kitchen area, I'd like to place 1022 on the Elmo and show you what we're talking about.
All right, 1022.
1022. Can you see, see if we can make it a little clearer? Can you see that, what's depicted there, and it's apparently a speed dialer component of a phone, supposedly in the kitchen of the Bundy residence? Do you remember seeing a phone in that condition with the names by the speed dialer of Daddy, Dita, Dash, Opa, Cora, Pam, or Robin? Robin and Pam.
I can't make them out, but yes, I recall seeing that.
You remember seeing that there that particular night?
Yes.
And that's a fair portrayal of how that phone in the kitchen appeared that particular night or the date of June 13th, 1994?
I don't know. I don't recall seeing it like that.
You remember seeing the names on there, did you not?
I remember seeing some names, and I believe Daddy was the top one.
All right. Oh, by the way, did you take any photographs of that yourself? Do you have any photographs?
No,
So you have none, right?
that's correct.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not there was a phone anywhere in the living room area when you first walked in the house?
Once again, there may have been.
All right.
I don't have a specific recollection of that.
And you saw the testimony of Officer Risky, did you not?
I saw parts of it.
All right. And with regard to if there was such a phone in the living room area, you would have had that dusted also, would you not have?
My instructions were for all phones.
All right.
Yes.
Well, you could continue on with what you had dusted in the interior if you had not completed it.
The knife subsequent to the examination for blood. The banister railing going up the front stairwell all the way to the top and across towards the main bedroom. Various moldings in the upstairs area. The bed in the bedroom, the posts on the bed, the television set, I believe around the bathtub off the master bedroom, the counters up in that area. There was a pack of cigarettes that I believe was on the floor of the bathroom that was printed. There may have been other areas that they did. Basically, my instructions were to do everything that had the possibility of containing prints.
So this was a thorough job that you wanted to have done to try to determine latent prints. Is that correct?
I certainly wanted every area covered where someone might have left prints, yes.
Did you have the ice cream cup dusted at all?
No.
And what is a latent print, officer?
Latent print is a fingerprint that's not readily observable to the naked eye.
And so in order to bring such a print up, is there some kind of a powder that's used by the print
Yes.
technicians to determine whether or not they can get a print from a particular subject or object?
That's correct.
And in this case, you had a very thorough dusting done of the residence there at Bundy, and thereafter you received a report back, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And if I can show this to counsel and approach the witness room. Two-page report. I'd like to mark this as the defendant's next in order.
I believe that's 1029.
29.
All right, this is a good place. Before we hit another sidebar, courts are opening in 6 minutes. Guys, thank you so much for coming out and watching this with me today and listening to questions asked and answered over and over and over and over again. I don't know when we're going to get to the end of the ice cream. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to the dog. I don't know. But we're almost in March. And I think we have good things happening in March. So I will talk to you again very, very, very soon. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.